Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You want to put it on like a presentation mode, or is that good? No worries. That's
Wait, what is full screen right now? Wait, Sid, what? Oh, is it a PDF?
Yeah.
Is there a presentation? Wait, where's
That's
the
fine.
drive? Sorry about that.
Well, while she's having fun with that.
Oh yeah,
Denise work?
it's just a PDF. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
That's okay. Probably need to move the control bar though. Just go ahead. Testing. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. This is where you guys say good morning. Thank you. So I was so excited when the Swift Club at Cal Poly Pomona invited me to be the keynote speaker. I graduated from Cal Poly Pomona in 1981. I usually just say 100 years ago because that's pretty believable, I think. But I graduated from the College of Business Administration. My major was information systems. And I was in the first class year that we had information systems, because before that, it was data processing. It's probably not a term most of you have ever heard before. So that year, we also had NISA change its name from the DP Club to NISA, had a competition, and that was the name selected, and I was so excited to meet the current president of NISA, Allie, out there, because I was the first president of NISA. So it's kind of fun to make that connection all these years later. So I know that my bio and all of that, and my LinkedIn profile, but I just thought I'd tell you kind of a little bit about my academic and career journey, because that might give you some insights into the remarks that I have this morning. When I went to Cal Poly, I decided to major in information systems because I love technology, but not for technology's sake. I was really interested in the intersection of technology and innovation and business outcomes. I learned a lot about how advanced computing capabilities really make a difference as business drivers. And that's exactly what I wanted to learn. But I learned a whole lot more as a student at Cal Poly Pomona. And I actually think that my experience there as a student was probably the most critical influence on my 40-year career success. And I don't say that like, when I was there, I learned a lot about myself. I learned how to learn. I learned what I did well and what I really did not do so well. And trust me, I loved systems analysis and design, and that was my specialization. But I was really not good at programming. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I have to spend the rest of my life coding, I'm never going to make any money because I'm so bad at it. But that's when I learned about collaboration and learning from my fellow students. So the cool thing about graduating from Cal Poly is that when you learn how to learn and you learn how you learn, and you learn how you define your success, that means that you won't go stale. Because you gotta be thinking, oh my gosh, that lady was in a technical career for 40 years. Let me assure you, anything I learned at Cal Poly Pomona in 1980 is no longer applicable out in the world today. And the things that they're teaching students on campus today aren't going to be applicable for 5 or 10 years from now. And the things happening in industry, they're not going to be able to build into the curriculum. It takes too long to get curriculum approved and through that process. So that's why events like this are so important. You learn from each other, you learn from industry experts, and you learn every step of the way. So I think, for me, the way I defined success for myself was two things. One was the opportunity to learn something new every day. And secondly, to protect and defend our national security and our individual rights. And so I spent my 40-year career in the defense and intelligence community building pretty much software intensive systems and intelligence applications and things like that. So it was a fun time. So enough about that. Okay.
There's a mouse here as well, so you can cross. If you want to hold this and like scroll down.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, so a couple things. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the state of STEM in society. And then some of the things that you can do now to enhance your credentials for moving forward towards your career. Some of the more common career pathways, and then wrap it up. So I use the term STEM kind of broadly. It's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And originally, I had focused this presentation on cyber, because you saw my title was Executive in Residence for Cybersecurity at Cal Poly Pomona. And probably the last 10 years of my career were deeply in cyber, which for me was the intersection of intelligence and computing. And so I'm kind of steeped in cyber, and I thought, oh, what is a tech symposium? There's probably students there that think of other things other than cyber. So I broadened it a little bit for you. But there's so much overlap in all of the STEM fields that I think you'll hopefully get something out of it since you're spending your Saturday morning here. So what does the current situation look like for society? I mean, think about it. There have been tremendous, tremendous technological advances just in your lifetimes, and certainly in my lifetime. And you think about the complexity of some of these, the changes in medicine and the advances in technology in hardware and software, and just the way that medicines are delivered to individuals over the internet through devices that are implanted in them. Think about space exploration, and that last week, yet another mission to restock the International Space Station. I remember sitting there watching on TV the first moon landing. I was in the middle of the wilderness in Alaska and it was on TV. And so you think about all of those kinds of changes. Communications, I mean, you guys, how many of you have always had a smartphone or mobile phone of some type, as far back as you can remember? Pretty much all of you? Yeah. Yeah. I still remember my first flip phone, for Pete's sake. Those things just didn't exist. Communication was very different. And certainly, you look at global, finance, national defense, everything is so different now. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And all of those things are very, very positive advances. They've made such a difference for our everyday lifestyles. But then kind of think about it. For every good thing, there's also kind of a negative, or there could be. So you think about social media, and everybody has social media accounts. I do not, I probably do not have, okay, I have LinkedIn, but I don't have any of the other stuff. And so I choose to do that because I choose to be a relatively unknown person. So, and so when you think about how vulnerable each one of you is out there on the internet, I think you're all probably really good at protecting your digital identities. You're all probably really good at password control and managing your accounts and updating things and patching your own personal systems. I'll bet you're all really good at that. But then you see these other impacts to our society from the negative aspects. Children who spend all of their time on social media to the point where they don't have any, life form friends. All of their friends are on the internet. Friends, I'm just going to use air quotes. These are just acquaintances. They don't really know if they really exist. But they might be sending them messages about, oh, you're a bad person, you're too fat, and you're ugly, and you're never going to amount to anything in life. And they start believing that. And so there's a lot of negative consequences to some of these tools and capabilities that are out there. We think about economic espionage. It is so easy now for other governments and companies to steal the intellectual property, intellectual capital of a corporation. And it's, no cause for amazement that some of the defense weapon systems around the world in countries that are adversaries of the United States have weapon systems that look a lot like ours. How does that happen? So I think you see a lot of, bad things that can circle, right? So you have great stuff that everybody can help build, and then there are sometimes some negative consequences. And all of these things just get more intense, more frequent. But you know what? The bottom line is technology is technology. It has no moral values, has no moral compass, it doesn't know right from wrong. But that's where you guys come in. Because as society, we count on you to use your knowledge and your capabilities to advance society with these technologies. Much in the same way that I was looking to advance business outcomes through the use of advanced computing capabilities. So think about that. It's interesting because around the world, something like 73 countries are going to be holding their elections this year. And the big concern is election integrity and voter fraud and things like that. And you all know that through artificial intelligence, you can kind of pose to be anyone and anything you want to be. And so there's a lot of concern globally about election integrity. Think about that every day. Those are the kinds of things that concern people. The other thing that I just find fascinating is that when they did a study with cybersecurity professionals, 54% of them said, oh, yeah, cyber attacks have really gone up in the last 6 months. Lots more cyber attacks. Do you know that only 40% of those said, I'm not really sure if they're a real human causing that attack, or if that's some kind of bot or AI generated attack. Only 13% of what these cyber professionals saw could they specifically attribute it to either a human or an AI generated attack. That's pretty scary. The fakes and the deep fakes are getting so good that it is more and more difficult to figure out what's real and what's not. And so again, that's where you guys come in, is to use technology for good. The bad news, sadly, is that not everyone is as astute as all of you in showing up on a Saturday to attend a technology symposium. We have fewer and fewer students that are choosing to go into the STEM disciplines. And diversity is still a challenge for us. And I mean broad diversity. We need people in this field who just look at a problem and think about it differently, who come from a different perspective, different educational background, different experiences and exposures to problem solving. And it really is a collaborative kind of field where you've got to get everybody together to do complex problem solving if you want to have the very best possible outcome. So technology, although there are lots and lots of open jobs, and I think ISC Squared is saying we've gone from 2 million unfilled cyber positions to way more than that, maybe even double around the world. You can't kind of sit on your laurels and say, hey, there's so many jobs out there, I can get a job, no problem. As long as I walk out of school with a degree, I'll be fine. You have to find a way to differentiate yourself from everyone else. Find a way to make yourself stand out, and I'll share a little bit with you on that. But with so many children, usually around 6th grade is when children decide they're either kind of going towards the STEM track or no, that's not cut out for me, because there's a lot of social pressure on kids not to be one of those science nerds. I would highly encourage everyone to be a science nerd. That we are falling further and further behind. And the reason that you should worry about that is if you think you're going to go out here, well, that's okay, because I know they need cyber types or technology types or people that know AI or digital analytics or any of those advancing fields. Right here in the Inland Empire or the LA County area, you're not just competing with other students from this area. You're competing with students from across the nation and around the globe. So when you go for a job interview, remember, it's not just other students that come out of the Cal State system or the UC system. It is students from all over the world. When I was running a global cyber education program, I was traveling all over the world, talking about careers in cyber education, workforce development, and every country, every developed country is building out their capabilities. And they're only going to have so many jobs available in their country. So they're going to start looking other places to go to work. So you have to stay at the top of your game. Let's talk about how you stay at the top. That's the bad news. But you know what? There is a lot of good news. I always like good news. I'm an optimist. The good news is there's a whole lot more investment in the technology areas than there used to be. You guys have probably seen this. There's cyber and technology and science summer camps and camps during the spring break, winter break, during the school year. I live in Virginia now, and in Virginia, every student is required in high school to take a cybersecurity class. Most of the high schools and certainly all of the universities in the Commonwealth of Virginia are part of the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. And then we had a separate state level cyber competition for colleges and universities that had NSA DHS certification. But there's a lot more coming, at the K-12 level, so students feel better prepared when they move into community college or a four-year university. And then if you look at the federal government, there's a whole lot more that's being done. There are internships and co-ops that are available through many of the federal agencies, but there's also grants that clubs and stuff can apply for to do specialized kind of research. But a lot more work being done by nonprofit organizations and community organizations. And frankly, a lot of it is before and after school programs to get kids off the street and doing something productive. So there really is a whole lot more interest in preparing students for this kind of a career field. So lots of encouraging stuff. I spoke on Capitol Hill to Congress a few times about careers in cyber, how to support the workforce, worked with, I'm scrolling too fast. Stop. I'll get this. There. So how many of you have decided you want to be let's say a cyber professional? Dr. Pike is hoping to be one someday. So that's most of you. So if you are going to go into cyber profession or technical profession, I talked to the recruiting people. I worked for 36 years at Northrop Grumman Corporation, so advanced defense and things like that. And I asked our recruiters, what are the things that you guys go out and look for? And this is what they told me pretty much. So when we look for graduating students to hire for career positions or for internship positions, and by the way, a lot of major corporations start hiring high school students as they're coming through Cyber Patriot. Speak to Dr. Pike. We always look for people with a strong technical background, obviously. One of the STEM disciplines where you learn things like problem solving and analysis and synthesis and critical thinking. Because remember, what you're learning there today will not apply in 10 years. So what they're teaching you is the how to learn, how to discipline your mind to work that way. The next category is behavioral. Some of these might be like professional skills or, people call them different things, soft skills. But I think they're kind of behavioral. Can you play nicely in the sandbox with other people? Do you share your toys? Do you collaborate well? Do you communicate well? Because one of the problems that we have is you're going to be walking right up to the Chief Information Security Officer one day and trying to convince them to spend $5 million on this latest really cool thing put out by, pick a company. And so you need to be able to articulate well, orally and in writing. Do a lot of writing in technical fields. And then can you just kind of think differently, technically creative? There is not a standard answer for everything. Okay, don't ask a mathematician that, I can tell you there is. But think differently, look at every problem a little bit differently, take a different angle maybe than someone else. This is why you work in teams, because everybody comes at it with a different perspective. But it's, sticking with it until you solve the problem. Almost probably not going to go away. It will not get better if you ignore it. And then personal attributes, you really have to be a person of high integrity and a commitment to ethics. Any of these fields, especially cybersecurity, where you are hired to protect an organization's most critical assets, you better be honest. And many of the roles, maybe, certainly if you had a job like I had, you needed a security clearance. But even if you're going to work in retail and do cyber for Target, they're going to put you through some kind of a background check. So make smart choices about what images are out there on the internet with you in them and your friends, and how you're spending, well, I know you guys are spending your Saturdays here, but if just be careful of what's out there, because it is true, once it's on the internet, it never goes away. But just be careful about what's out there about you. So do we have any middle schoolers here? High school students? Okay, we've got a few. So I would say, a lot of schools, high schools, are sort of getting into the cyber patriot world and into fun science and technology engineering competitions. And competitions are a fabulous way to learn. Coming to something like this is a fabulous way to learn. But there's also things you can do on your campus. I think when you could talk to any of the college students here, but when you're in a mode of teaching someone else, you're learning at the same time. Because they're asking you questions and it forces you to keep thinking and learning. So, mentor other students and share your knowledge of what you know. There's probably a lot of teachers at your school that feel a little less comfortable with technology, let's just say. And so maybe you can volunteer your time to help set up the computer lab or run the computers in the school library or whatever it is. Get involved because it's never too early to start learning. But, see if you can find someone in school or your community or your friends, parents or whoever, that are in the technology field and ask them what they do and how they like it. And you might learn some of that. A lot of those students that don't go into technology fields don't because they don't know what exists. They don't know anybody who's a technologist. And so they have no idea that there's actually a career field for them. So participating in clubs and before and after school things, so many opportunities for learning out there.
By the time I finish this, I'll figure this out. Okay, college. I love being here today.
I see lots of clubs out there. MISA, Swift. Is Swift out here? Right? I didn't see them. No? Wow. So She Codes, Girls Who Code, Computer Science Club. There's a lot of professional associations too that have student chapters. So you may want to check into that. Sometimes you can go as a student to one of these professional association meetings and just start to meet people, start to build your network, make contacts. Lots of campus affinity groups. I saw Women in Tech out there, but the Society of Women Engineers, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, Women in Cybersecurity. Lots and lots of professional organizations that have student chapters. The National Cyber Watch Center has a student membership. And that gets you into their conferences and things like that. How many of you are on the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition team? Yes. We're so proud of you guys. That is so exciting. You do so well every time. But there's lots of other, in technology, lots of other clubs, the Formula One racing, the concrete canoe, there's that renewable house that some of the engineers are building. There's all kinds of clubs and activities. But the ones that are really kind of fun are the cross-disciplinary, because you're actually meeting people that you never would meet in your major or in your college. So I put Rose Float up there and associated students. Those are things that bring together students of all different majors. But, when you think about it, on the Rose Float, which I got to glue some flowers on this year, it was so much fun. There are engineering majors that are welding. There are business majors that are keeping the financial records and keeping track of the donations and how much money they have in their budget. It's just, those are cool kinds of activities where you'll meet lots of other people. So it's good to participate in those. But remember, any time that you spend, don't tell any faculty I said this, but the time that you spend outside the classroom is oftentimes more valuable than the time that you spend inside the classroom.
Amen.
Just invest in yourself, and that's what those extracurricular activities are. So there's a whole lot of different career pathways, some are better defined than others. Certainly, if you want to be an aerospace engineer, there's a really great job description for an aerospace engineer. You know exactly what they do and what kind of skills they need. Not so much for an AI developer, right? So depending on the field that you choose, you know, there may or may not be defined pathways. I would encourage you to go out to NICE, you know, the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. They have a workforce framework, and that workforce framework is used across the federal government. So it defines 7 discipline areas for cyber, you know, like operations, analysis, investigations, different kinds of things like that, different elements that you may just want to take a look at and see what's out there, just get familiar with it. So I would say, you know, a lot of people say, hey, I just, you know, I think I'm gonna be fine if I just graduate from high school or 2 years of community college and I get some certifications. And that probably is true for an entry-level position, but the more education you have, typically the higher up you will go in the organization, and you'll have many, many more opportunities to excel. And that's because you've learned how to learn. And so you're going to look at each one of these really cool opportunities and I can do that. I can do that. And so you'll have a lot more opportunity the stronger your core foundation. And if financing for a 4-year degree is an issue, there are a lot of federal agencies that have scholarship for service programs, and that means they'll pay for your college in exchange for you working for them, usually 3 to 4 years. And there's a program like that Cal Poly Pomona participates in called Cyber Core, and you can enter federal government service upon graduation. There's also ROTC if you're inclined towards the military disciplines. But I would say as you're out there scanning the horizons of potential employers, you're going to want to find an organization that has the same kind of values that you do. It's what's important to you. And like I said, for me, it was learning something new every day and supporting our national security. And so you can figure that out sometimes from an organization's website, but that's how you align what you enjoy doing every day with how they make money. So you know, think about all the different opportunities out there. You guys are in a great position. Those of you who are attending Cal Poly Pomona picked an outstanding school. And you'll learn how to learn, you'll learn what you do well and not so well. And I think you're all gonna do a great job figuring out what that dream career looks like. But remember, you have to stay on top of your game. Keep learning, be committed to lifelong learning. The only way I could keep accelerating over a 40-year career after graduation was by learning new things, always say yes. And say, hey, we got this thing, would you be interested in? Yes, because everything you do is an opportunity to learn. And the more you learn, the better off you are in your career. So keep your eye on the positives and how you're going to make a positive impact on society. So I invite any questions. You guys are so quiet. Questions? Yes?
Yeah. Advice for professionals who are wanting to start college and like that.
The question is about the first year or two after college and finding the path. You know, it's interesting. I think your first job out of college is really important, especially if you didn't have internships while you were in college, because that will help frame for you what you like doing. And I think I would look for an organization not only that aligns with my values, but has a lot of opportunity to move around and try different things. So you don't get kind of pigeonholed in a job, and if you don't like it, you have the opportunity maybe to pursue something else. I would say you should stay with that first job a year or two, so you don't look like a job hopper. The rule of thumb used to be 3 years, but I think that's certainly shorter now. But in those first 2 years, meet as many people as you can inside the organization, and honestly, take full advantage if they are members of professional organizations, going to conferences, meeting, see if you can get to be a speaker at a conference or participate in something, because it not only looks good for the company, but it's good for you. And so a lot of times they'll help to promote you if that's your aspiration. But always be on the lookout of what the next opportunity might be within or outside the company. But build, work on building your network and always say yes. Yes.
There's a question on.
Ooh, a Zoom question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jose Serrado Cano. I'm currently a CIS student. This is my last year at Cal Poly. The question is I recently started applying for some of the jobs, especially for some of the aerospace companies. And one of them, I did get feedback on my resume, and apparently, even though I'm a CIS student, apparently they're saying that my degree they have an issue with it because they're saying it's not exactly STEM because it's coming from the business department. Is that true, or is that just something out of their own personal preference? Because I know you mentioned about being in a STEM discipline.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think 40 years ago, people didn't know what to do with a CIS or an IS degree. And that's not uncommon. Every company will have their own requirements for degrees. And sadly, some of them, they all use keyword searches and AI now to stay in resumes and stuff. But they don't necessarily recognize CIS as a technical degree because it is a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So it's still a Bachelor of Science. And I think what would help sometimes is you say, thank you very much for your consideration. May I give you a list of the curricula in this degree program so you can see that it is technology focused, but with an application to business success. And they may have already decided they're not going to hire you, but at least you can give them some information that they should then consider and reevaluate how they view that major. But, that could be the organization itself, but I don't know. I haven't run into that. Usually they're a little more flexible on specific degrees. But good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? You guys have a terrific, are you thinking about it? Not sure? Okay. You guys have a terrific day ahead, wonderful, amazing speakers. Congratulations to the SWIFT team for pulling off such a wonderful event and super speakers coming up. You're going to learn a lot and take the time to meet other students and learn from each other. So enjoy your day, and thank you very much for your time and your attention.
I'll let you do it. Oh, I
Sorry
should
about
put
the
my,
slides.
that's right, I should put this up there. And then my email.